My name is Afia, and I come from a village deep in the heart of the Ashanti region. Our village, nestled beneath the great hills, is small but vibrant, alive with the sounds of laughter, music, and community. From the moment I could walk, I knew the drum. The sound of it, the rhythm of it, was woven into the very fabric of our lives. It wasn't just a sound, it was our heartbeat. Among all the drummers in our village, there was one whose music stood apart. No one knew his true identity. We only knew him by his name, the Masked Drummer. He was a figure wrapped in mystery, always appearing at the height of every celebration, his face concealed by a beautiful, intricately carved mask. The mask was unlike any I had seen, painted with bright reds and greens, patterned with symbols that seemed to speak of another world. It wasn't just an ordinary mask, it was a work of art, a symbol of power and secrecy. The masked drummer would appear without warning, just as the festival or the ceremony was at its peak. His drumming was unlike anything else. It was said that his hands could coax the spirits out of the earth, and his beats could heal the sick and bring joy to the weary. Every time he played, the village would fall into a trance. The music would flow through us, and for a moment, we forgot our troubles. It was as if the drum had a magic of its own, and none of us questioned who he was. It didn't matter, but I was different. Ever since I was a child, I had been curious about him. My curiosity grew every year. Who was the man behind that mask? What was his story? Why did he hide from us? There was something about him that called to me, and as I got older, I promised myself that I would find out the truth. One evening during the harvest festival, the drumming began as usual. The night was warm, the air rich with the smell of roasted meat and fresh fruit. Lanterns flickered in the dark, casting long shadows on the ground. The village gathered at the square, and the music began. The beat of the drum echoed through the night, deep and steady, drawing everyone to the center of the village. But there he was again, the masked drummer, standing tall, his figure silhouetted against the firelight. I could see the way everyone responded to him. The elderly women with their beads and wrappers, the children jumping in excitement, the young men and women clapping to the rhythm. Everyone knew the masked drummer's music was a blessing, something we all looked forward to every year. But for me that night, something felt different. I had to know who he was. After the drumming reached its peak, I slipped away from the crowd, my heart pounding with excitement and nerves. I had no idea what I would find, but I couldn't stop myself. I had to follow the sound of the drum and discover the truth. I walked quietly, stepping lightly across the grass, following the rhythm of the drum as it pulsed through the air. The village square faded into the distance, and I found myself in the outskirts of the village, where the forest began to take over. The night was quiet here, save for the occasional rustle of leaves in the wind. My feet barely made a sound as I moved deeper into the darkness. Then I saw him. There, beneath an old baobab tree, sat the masked drummer. His back was turned to me, and he was playing with such intensity that I felt the ground beneath me vibrate. I stayed hidden in the shadows, too afraid to approach him directly. But my curiosity pushed me closer. I took a few careful steps forward. He stopped playing, and for the first time, I saw him without the mask. He was not the tall, regal figure I had imagined. He was a boy, maybe a little older than me, no more than 16. His legs were bent at odd angles, his body twisted in a way that made it clear he had never walked properly. He sat on the ground, a drum held close to his chest, his eyes wide with fear as he looked toward the dark forest, as if expecting someone to catch him. I didn't speak at first, I just stood there, watching. I could see the way his hands trembled on the drum. The boy was not what I had expected. He wasn't some grand, mysterious spirit or a stranger from far away. He was someone like me, someone who had hidden himself from the world. Finally, I stepped forward. "Why do you hide?" I asked softly, my voice barely louder than a whisper. He looked up at me, startled, his eyes full of fear. He quickly put the drum aside and tried to stand, but his legs betrayed him, and he fell back to the ground. My heart ached for him, but I stayed calm. Please, I said, kneeling beside him, don't be afraid. I won't tell anyone. The boy looked at me with confusion, as if unsure whether to trust me. You don't understand, he said. His voice was rough, but there was a gentleness to it. If they know who I am, they'll pity me. They'll see my legs, and they won't want me. I sat down beside him, my heart heavy. No one will pity you, I said. Your music, it brings us all together. It makes us happy. No one needs to see your face to know how important you are. He shook his head. They can never know. I can't show them this. They'll see me as nothing but broken. I took his hand gently, feeling the heat of his skin, the warmth of his music. You are not broken. You are strong, and you have something special. Don't let your fear keep you hidden away. For a long moment, there was silence between us, the weight of his shame hanging in the air. But slowly, he nodded. I'm Kwame, he said softly. Kwame, I repeated. It's time for the village to know who you are. The next day, with Kwame's permission, I stood before the villagers. I told them about the boy who had been playing the drums for us all these years, the boy who had been hiding behind the mask. There was an uneasy silence at first, but then the murmurs started. The elders looked at each other, unsure, but the younger ones, those who had danced to the rhythm of his drums, started clapping. Slowly, they joined in, and before long, the entire village was clapping along. Kwame stood beside me, his face flushed with both fear and pride. He wasn't hiding anymore. That night, the drumming began once again. But this time, it was different. It wasn't just a sound. It was Kwame's story, his courage, his journey. As he drummed, his face no longer hidden, we all understood that the strength he had shown was more powerful than any mask. It was his music that truly united us, not the mystery of who he was. From that day on, Kwame was no longer the masked drummer. He was simply Kwame, the boy who had found his place among us, not despite his disability, but because of his gift. And we, the village, would never forget the lesson he taught us. It is not our fears or our differences that define us, but our ability to share what we have with the world. And that, my friends, is how Kwame became a hero, not through the drumming, but through the courage to be seen for who he truly was. Make sure to like the video and subscribe as the stories are just about to get better.